Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to PMI Colombo, Sri Lanka chapter member forum for the month of July 2026. On behalf of the PMI Sri Lanka chapter board of directors, I warmly welcome each and every one of you for this fabulous gathering. Today's session is a little bit special because you know why? July 9th, 2026. This is the day that PMI going to change their project management professional exam as with the latest exam content outline. So when you think about the PMBOK Guide 8, this is one of the most important reference guide that you can refer in order to ace your PMP exam. So coincidentally, we have arranged this session. Thank you very much, Laura, for accepting our invitation. So let's kick off this session, ladies and gentlemen. Let me invite the president of PMI Colombo chapter, Mr. Vijay, to deliver the welcome speech. Over to you, Vijay.
Thank you, Shivantika. Good evening to all of you. We warmly welcome you to the our member forum, monthly member forum. This is an event that we organize throughout the year in various subjects in order for our members to benefit and attend to these online and physical member forums and learn different subjects, projects, case studies, project execution, project-related matters. But as Shivantika said, this is very, very important member forum. I'm sure that you all will get benefited very much because this is one of the key changes that PMI has come up with our standard PMBOK. So this is a new version. So thank you. I should thank Laura for taking the time off and giving us this time for our members to get the first-hand experience from the people who are directly involved in developing this guide. So this guide, I read through some of the articles and the changes. We've been participated in several other events that we got to know the key changes and updates. So the benefit, our members also will get first-hand information. So that feel free to listen to the session and raise any questions that you have. So this, I think this, the changes have been introduced to the PMBOK is taking the extensive community inputs and the evidence with they being globally accessible, streamlined, and with the modern project work principles. So this for the practitioners, this means a standard that is intended to be easy to apply, easy to explain to stakeholders, and more relevant across industries. So I will, let Nadun to introduce the speaker, and once again, thank you for joining, and I hope that you all will get benefited from this session. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Vijay, Shiv. Laura, once again, welcome on behalf of PMI Sri Lanka Colombo chapter. So little about Laura, for you all to know how much worth this resource person for us to join here during this. When I did my PMP, it was PMBOK 5, so 3 more editions. So I'm also eagerly want to see what are the changes, what new things I could learn and shape up my career. So little about Laura. She's one of the co-authors of PMBOK 8, and directly she has contributed to shaping upcoming global standard guidelines and core methodologies for the project professionals worldwide. And apart from that, she's an accomplished PMO executive and former board director and current head of PMO with over 20 years of cross-industry experience in automotive, energy, yachting, and telecom sector. Further, she's academically holding a lot of credentials. So one of it is she holds a master's degree in electronic engineering from the University of Pisa, Italy, and she's certified in PMP and PMI, PMOCP, and she's an expert. Apart from that, she's a well-known global keynote speaker. Renowned speaker sharing specialized expertise on PMO leadership, corporate strategy execution, and executive stakeholder alignment worldwide. So this is very little about Laura. So without much taking time, I know the members who have joined is eager to listen what changes has bringing the 8th edition of PMBOK. So I'm inviting Laura, it's to you to take the members through.
Thank you so much for your invitation, for your introduction. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here with you for this session, and I'm really looking forward to it. I would like to share now share the slides so that we can start with the topic. What we are going to do today, we are going to have an overview of the PMBOK 8th edition. As you mentioned, I was part of the co-development team. The opinions that I express during this session are, of course, my own opinions, and I do not represent, let's say, the opinion of or the position of PMI, neither of my organization. Anyway, we'll go through the whole overview of the publication, and I will give you also some kind of insight and background on how it has been developed, how we have worked. And the first thing I would like to share with you is that when I joined this co-development team, actually it was a little bit by chance, because I saw a call for volunteers on LinkedIn published by PMI that were looking for volunteers to be part of the co-development team. Of course, I knew that there were many people, applying all over the world. And when I applied and I gave it a try, I was absolutely not sure that I would, get this opportunity. But at the end, I went through the selection process. You have to absolve some interviews. You have to also answer to some questions also in written form. It's quite an articulated process, let's say. But this just to say to you that if you would be interested, to participate in some co-development team or review team of some publications, or also of the next PMBOK edition, give it a try, apply actually. Just have a look on LinkedIn, on the publications on the posts from PMI, or also on the VIP system from PMI, because it can be a very good opportunity, and never say never. You can be selected and go for it. So that was just to share this, and let's deep dive a little bit in the publication itself. Even before starting the work of this core development team, basically PMI has made quite a big survey and has interviewed many professionals all over the world, just to know where the profession was going. So they completed 3,400 surveys across the globe, and they collected 48,000 data points. So I would say that this edition is really data-driven. So that's one of the key elements. And we had already this data when we started basically to develop the content of the book. In addition to that, there were 2 rounds of public exposure of feedback from the community. And in that case, we had, as a co-development team, to deal and to analyze 12,000 comments coming from all the practitioners and all the professionals all over the world that could basically comment on the draft of the book. And of course, we gave a response to each of these comments. So they have really been analyzed by one in order to understand if to include the comment, if rework, let's say, some parts of the book, and that was actually one element. You may remember PMBOK 6th edition. It was based on process groups. It was based on knowledge areas. The feedback received from the practitioners community also during this, let's say, interviews and surveys was that it was a little bit difficult, to read, difficult to consume, difficult to understand. And also it was indicated as being too much prescriptive. So actually the approach was too much prescriptive. Then you may remember PMBOK 7th. PMBOK 7th had a different kind of let's say, setup, because it was mindset oriented. There were the principles. So we had 12 principles. Then there were the domains. But anyway, it was also perceived by the practitioners from these interviews and surveys that were carried out as a kind of publication that somehow was not going in depth too much, yeah, and also on the how-to, explaining also the how-to. So this is why basically one of the points was to really say, okay, let's try to get and combine these two different kind of setups and approaches from PMBOK 7, PMBOK 6, and let's create PMBOK 8. So in PMBOK 8, you find still the principles. They are still there because based on the surveys, this was an important point that practitioners wanted. You have also the performance domains, but you have a number of practical examples. So both the principles and also the domains, they include some really practical examples from the day-to-day work. And then there is another aspect to consider, that it is very true that you have the principles, you have the domains, but they have been also streamlined. This means that the idea was not to have the content indicated or reported twice, so to avoid redundancies. So for instance, if you have a principle that's related to quality, you will not have a domain that's related to quality. If you have a domain that is about risk, you will not have a principle that explains some aspects of risks. This was really in order to streamline the content as much as possible and make this edition the most readable it could be and the most also, reader friendly, let's say. When we go to the structure, what we call PMBOK, so the book itself, it's composed by two parts. So the first part is the standard itself, that's renewed every 4 years. And then there is another part that's the guide. So the guide is not ANSI certified. The standard is ANSI certified. And then you have also the appendixes. In the appendixes, what we usually tend to do in the books is that we consider the content as such, the chapters, and then we say, okay, we will go through the appendixes, but maybe the content is a little bit less important. In this case, I would really say that also the content of the appendixes is key content, because you have 3 appendixes that are really, really very important. You have one appendix related to project management offices, so to PMOs, with the explanation and an interesting description of the kind of approach of the customer centricity, of the adaptability of the PMO, of the idea of providing services. So actually, even if it's, let's say, an appendix, so not so much extended, and even though we have a specific publication for project management offices, that is the Project Management Offices Practice Guide, this appendix is still important and key. Then you have another appendix that's related to artificial intelligence, which of course does not substitute any standards or other publications of PMI, also in the frame of AI, but anyway, it gives some indication on how to work with AI, which kind of setup you can use. So if you can use like some kind of augmented way of working, and when it is best to use a certain approach, when it's best to use another one in the frame of AI. Can you still see my slides?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. And then we have also another appendix, that's procurement. This appendix, you may have a question, because you may say, why actually procurement has been put in as an appendix? It could have been put in the content itself of the basically without being putting in the appendixes. So it could be part, let's say, of the guide, for instance. But the reason was that as a co-development team, what we tried to do, we wanted to cover as much industries and as much sectors as possible, to make both the standard and the guide really valid as a wide spectrum. And from the discussions that we had in the co-development team, what came out was that usually procurement in most of the companies has a specific department. And basically the project manager interacts with this department to have the procurement done. Of course, in certain industries, like in construction, it's a little bit different, but in other industries like IT or others, it's as well a different setup. So this was the reason why actually procurement was moved to an appendix. And by the way, I read also sometimes some questions regarding how this core development team was composed, from where the people were coming from. Actually, we came from different continents, different countries, completely different cultures, and of course also different industries. So working in project management, but really from a wide spectrum of different industries, which actually made us diverse. And in addition to that, we were the co-development team that was developing the content itself of the publication. And then we had also another team, the review team, that was reviewing at every step our content and giving feedback in the meanwhile. So, and this has been actually for the whole duration, basically, of the work of our team. Let's now have a look at the standard. So the first part of the publication, we will now focus on this one. There is one sort of introduction, of course, with some key terms. And with that, I would like to highlight for you and put just a little bit the attention on the fact that some key terms and definitions have been updated and revised exactly with this PMBOK 8th edition. In particular, the definition of project, program, portfolio, but also project management and others. And in this sense, if we look, for instance, at the definition of project, and by the way, if you go through the different editions of PMBOK, starting really from the beginning, from edition 1, and then you move on, you can see that the definition of projects actually has not changed over the decades so much. It has remained still the same. And the one that we had before PMBOK Eighth was exactly the one that you see as definition of project, the first one here in this slide. So it's a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. The new definition states a temporary initiative in a unique context undertaken to create value. And then there's the explanation of what temporary means, what unique context means. But it's important now really to focus on three aspects. So temporary, which means that you have a beginning and an end. Okay, and this was also in the former definition. But the shift is that instead of creating a unique product, service, or result, you are working in a unique context, with a unique context. And it can be driven by different things, so distinct goals, environmental conditions, approaches, stakeholders, or other dimensions. And also, there is put very big importance on the value creation. So it's a temporary initiative to create that has the final goal to create value. So value is very, very important. And as well, if you see the definition of project management as such, the former one, and then the last one on the bottom of the slide, that states project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet or exceed the intended value. So again, what you see is that there is emphasis on the value, and in particular on the value-driven decision-making process, so on how you make the decision in order to bring that value, and based on the value that actually the project then brings. And then also there is the aspect of meet or exceed the intended value, which does not mean that you have to, accept or to make some gold plating or scope creep. But again, it's to emphasize the decision making that is value driven. So this is actually what was the aim of this new definition. And in the standard, you find also the system for value delivery, again linked to value. This was an important thing because nearly 2/3 of people that were interviewed wanted to have the system for value delivery in the PMBOK guide. So this is why actually we still have it. And if we look at how this system for value delivery is structured, what you can see that basically the portfolio management is some kind of link between strategy and execution. So, and the portfolio itself consists of programs, projects, but also you can see that basically the operations and products interact as well with programs and projects. So it's all under then the hat of portfolio management. So this is something that you can see in this pyramid, and that you can take as a takeaway. And the flow, the information flow of this creation of value is something that goes from senior leadership, because defines the strategy, that then actually communicated to the portfolio, and then the portfolio actually communicates with programs and projects, and then it goes to operations. Nevertheless, this is not some kind of information flow that goes only in one direction, because you have also the opposite direction. So from operations and products, you will have the information and the feedback that will flow to programs and projects, and as well from programs and projects to portfolio, and then eventually to senior leadership. So actually, the chain of value creation is actually bi-directional, so it does not go only in one direction. And one other part of the standards is related, and it's explaining basically the project management principles. So in this sense, 88% of the managers that have been actually interviewed, even before starting the work of the core development team, said that the principles were important to very important. So they wanted to have them there. And therefore, we have 6 principles. You may remember that in PMBOK 7th edition, if you make a comparison, there were 12 principles. And basically, what do the principles express? They express how the project manager should behave. And in this sense, you may ask the question, okay, but why in PMBOK 7th I had 12 principles, and now in PMBOK 8 I have 6 principles? Does this mean that I have to change how I behave or do something different? The reality is that the content in terms of principles has been streamlined and has been also sorted a little bit differently, but the same content is still there. And these principles have been made more actionable. They have a description, they have an indication of the impact they have on the project. They have some examples of how put these principles in actions, and then there is also some indication of how these principles are basically connected to the domains. And as I already said, the intention is to have no overlap between domains and principles. So to have one content indicated only once and not some overlaps between them. In this sense, the basis for the principles is the so-called project management mindset. This is something that has been, let's say, introduced in this PMBOK 8th edition. And what does it mean? It means that this mindset, the project management mindset, is constituted by 3 main pillars. So one pillar is proactiveness, the other one is ownership, and the third one is value-driven. We have 6 principles, and to each of these pillars are linked mainly 2 principles. So for instance, proactiveness, it's about dealing with the problems before they occur, or taking them really very, very much in advance. And in that sense, the 2 principles that are linked to this aspect of the mindset are adopt a holistic view and embed quality into processes and deliverables. Then you have the second part of the mindset, that's ownership. So ownership in the sense of being accountable as a leader, but also of developing and favoring the empowered culture in the team. And in this sense, you have 2 principles that refer to this. In particular, be an accountable leader and build an empowered culture. If we look at the third pillar of the mindset, that is value-driven, so again, focus and very, very high importance on value, you have 2 principles that relate to that. Focus on value and integrate sustainability within all project areas. Because sustainability with this edition has been highly integrated in that it permeates really the whole edition. And so, of course, you can find it also as a principle. And also to enhance again this, let's say, sustainability, you can see here the Thailand triangle revisited. If you look at this Thailand triangle, no, that is the one that actually we all know from PMI, no? So we know that we have ways of working, we have power skills, and we have business acumen. But what really, again, goes across all of them is social responsibilities. And social responsibility includes also sustainability. It's not only, but includes also sustainability. And in addition to that, in the center of the triangle, you can see results, because it is expected for the project manager still the ability to accomplish tasks, so to have the work done at the end of the day. So this is actually just to give a little bit more even emphasis on these social responsibilities, also with relation to the Thailand triangle, and this is something that you exactly find in the publication. So this is the version of the Thailand triangle that's reported there. We have discussed also this kind of revisiting of the, let's say, streaming a little bit differently the principles. And in this sense, there is a rationale behind that. You can see here in this table the principles that we had in the 7th edition, so in the former edition from the current one, and then actually what has happened then with them in the 8th edition, and what is the motivation and the rationale for streaming it in a different way and for collocated in the different way. So for instance, you have two principles like navigate complexity and recognize, evaluate, and respond to system interaction that have been merged actually in one principle that's adopt a holistic view. Nevertheless, you have other 4 principles, for instance, that have been merged in focus on value and then in some performance domains. So in the stakeholder performance domain, yeah. So actually the content has been a little bit splitted. And as fine as the principle on quality, you can see that it has been slightly rephrased and a little bit refined as well. And of course, in the also there were 2 principles in PMBOK 7 related to leadership. Well, there was the one about demonstrating leadership behaviors, and then there was the one about stewardness that have been merged in only one principle, that's be an accountable leader. The principle based on tailoring has been moved to a dedicated section in the guide where all the tailoring concept is fully explained, to emphasize again how much important is for the profession to make the tailoring of the correct approach to the project. And then if we look also at the principle of related to risks, this has been migrated to a dedicated domain to risk. So as you can see, there's not actually any overlap between principles and domain, and this is actually the rationale. So I just wanted to share with you to have a more concrete, really, and practical view on how this shift and this rearranging has been made. Let's have now a look at the different principles. So we have first principle is adopt a holistic view. And this is about really considering all the components, all the interdependencies as part of a larger system. And in each principle, you can find a short description, and then you find some bullet points. And of course, then you have dedicated chapters with description, with how to put them into practice, with concrete examples. So actually, this, of course, helps even more to look more for a practical point of view. We have a principle related to value, so focus on value. That is as well, value realized throughout the whole project as such. So this is, and how to realize also the benefits. Then we have the principle related to quality. And quality is seen somehow as an attribute. We do not have a performance domain for quality. The reason is that there is already this principle to emphasize how much important quality is throughout the whole duration of the process of the project and in each and every step. And we will then look also at some aspects related to quality assurance and quality control, because there are some links, of course, with two domains, specifically to performance domain, specifically the one for governance and the other one for scope, actually. So we will come back to that later. We have a principle for leadership, so to be an accountable leader. And in this sense, there are many aspects related to responsibility, respect, fairness, honesty, leading by example. So here you find really all the bullet points that are very explicatory of this specific principle. We have sustainability, and for sustainability, I would like just to read here this sentence because, in my opinion, it's really very powerful. And it's about meeting present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So I think that this is really a sentence that makes us to reflect, about the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And that's actually somehow the concept inspiring also this whole principle in particular. We have a principle for building an empowered culture. So working with the team, working with the stakeholders. And actually, another part of the standard is dedicated to the project life cycles. So we have seen the system for value delivery, we have seen the principles, and now we look at the project life cycles. And in particular, I would like here just to put emphasis on one specific thing, because process groups have been revisited in an evolved way, and now actually they are called focus areas. The reason for this revisitation, but also for the change of the name as such, is that process groups were associated, based on, again, on feedback from the practitioners, to a very, very prescriptive way of working. And therefore, it was decided to have focus areas instead of process groups. And this is actually how this is now structured. But you have still initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. Yeah, that's still there. And in particular, if we move now to the guide itself, so now we are shifting actually from the standard to the guide, we will see that in the map of the processes, they are mapped, of course, based on focus areas, but we will see it just in a minute. If we look at the guide, of course, does an introduction where the structure is explained, and also the main core of the guide, a main part is related to the domains. We have 7 domains, and they are, again, structured in a practical way. So you have the description, you have some key concepts, you have the processes. So the processes related to that specific domain. And of course, they are also based on they are then classified in the map of processes based on the focus areas. Then you have some, in the performance domains, you have some indications on how you can make the tailoring for that specific domain with some examples. There is also one part that explains how that specific domain is related to other domains. And then last but not least, you have, based on what are your expectations from that domain, so the results that you expect, there is a table that explains also the main, let's say, typical results that you can expect related to that specific domain, and then how you can check the results. So there's an explanation actually for each kind of result that you may wish to have, basically how you can check it, how you can, in certain cases, also measure it. So that could be an interesting aspect for you to look. And this is actually the process map. We have 40 processes, and in this table, what you see that you have on the vertical axis, you have the performance domains. So you have the 7 performance domains. You have governance, scope, schedule, finance, so stakeholders, resources, and risk. And you have on the horizontal axis, you have the focus areas that we said are actually the new process groups. Yeah, process groups were formerly contained in PMBOK 6. And of course, in each of for each, let's say, performance domain and each focus area, you have listed here what is the process. Yeah, which kind of process you can expect here. So in this case, we can just consider governance. In the planning focus area, we will have plan, sourcing strategy, and integrate and align project plans, for instance. And here you have the map of all the basically the 40 processes. One consideration, if you look at the performance domain of the stakeholders, you will find processes not only related to stakeholders, but also related to communications. Yeah, so stakeholders and communications are basically merged together. And the reason, you may ask, okay, but why communication has not been, put and considered somewhere else? Why did you bind it somehow with stakeholders? The idea behind that was also subject of the discussions that we had in the co-development team, was that also the team can be considered as a stakeholder. And if you consider the large amount of people that you work with on a project, basically all of them are stakeholders. So it's very difficult to identify somebody who would not be a stakeholder. And therefore we said, okay, communication is really key for the success of the project. We need to have communication. It is a large part of our daily job. Let's merge it with stakeholders, because actually almost all of the people that we are dealing with are stakeholders. And we will come also to some aspects a little bit later on. Another thing I would like to say here is that for scope as well, if you will look at some processes, you will find input and outputs that have some correlation also with quality elements. Yeah, so that is something I just wanted to let you know. Now let's go a little bit more in depth in the governance domain. That is the first one. So we will go now through the different performance domains, and we will start actually from the governance one, because it's the first one, and it's a little bit like an umbrella. Yeah, so the governance has to be considered as an umbrella. It includes project integration, but it's not only project integration, because it has also elements related to strategic alignment, to decision making, to change, and to approach success criteria. So you really have an umbrella there. And there are considerations about the kind of governance, the type of governance. So if you have a structured governance, if you have a self-governance, there are indications, for instance, on the metrics, indicators on the decision-making, on the baseline, on the value proposition. So, and one of the processes is exactly this planned sourcing strategy that is pretty much related also to make or buy decisions. Another aspect is, and another process that you can find here exactly in this performance domain is, for instance, manage quality assurance. And in this sense, quality assurance is somehow different from quality control. So with quality assurance, you assure that the project final result will meet the stakeholder needs, also in terms of project management. So you ensure that the processes, for instance, related to project management, are conducted in the right way. But this is a little bit different from quality control, because quality control is about creating project deliverables that meet defined specifications and thresholds. So this is a little bit different. And in this governance performance domain, we are talking about quality assurance. So we are talking about the process of project management, but not only. So how you basically execute it. In the scope performance domain, we already mentioned the fact that in some inputs and outputs, there are some quality aspects. The reason is basically that the scope performance domain was the one that was nearer to the concept of quality, even though quality is seen as an attribute that permeates basically all the domains and that goes on throughout the whole duration of the project itself. So it has to be seen really at large. But anyway, this is, and of course, in this sense, in the scope performance domain, you are more considering the quality control, so not the quality assurance aspect. Then we have a domain related to schedule, so to how to let's say, make the deliverable of the scope, let's say, on time. Then we have also a performance domain related to finance. It's not called cost, but it's called finance, with some processes as well. And the important aspect to consider here is that you will find in this performance domain two ways of how to build up the budget. The difference between the two options is the fact that you manage the contingency and the management reserve differently, and it will depend the option that you choose based on the context and of your organization. So this is as well something I wanted to highlight. We have the stakeholder performance domain, where we already discussed that there are some processes related to communication as such. So communication is very important. And last but not least, among the stakeholders, there is one part that depicts very well why the sponsor is a special stakeholder. So what actually the sponsor does that other stakeholders do not do. So in this, I wanted just to highlight this to you because it could be interesting. Regarding the resources performance domain, in this sense, you, of course, this is about human resources, physical, virtual resources, so all kinds of resources, and you have as well some processes. The last performance domain is the risk. And in this sense also, it's about risk management, how to manage the risk and creating project resilience. And you have also some actually processes related to that. I would like only to highlight to you here that how each process is structured. So let's take manage quality assurance. that was in the governance domain. You will always have inputs, then you have tools and techniques, and then you have outputs. So this is how each process is structured for all the specific domains. Other parts of the guide are the input and outputs. So for each input and output that you find in the processes, there is a very long list of description of what is really meant with that name, so that you can really have a look at it and go through it. And then you have a specific section, very interesting and very practical, about tools and techniques that project manager may apply and may use. There is also a section on tailoring, with the fact that 4 main steps are considered for tailoring. This is quite a section that makes a deep dive really on the tailoring, but just to mention you the 4 steps. Of course, the first one that you do, you basically say, okay, I want to understand based on certain elements and certain criteria which kind of approach I should select, so predictive, adaptive, or hybrid. Then you say, okay, how I can tailor for my organization, so which kind of governance I have, how is quality assurance done, do I have a PMO or do I have a value delivery office, a VDO, all these kind of things more linked really to your specific organization. Then you have another step that is, again, adjusting your approach based on the size, on the criticality of the project, and on other factors. And then last but not least, the last step is some kind of really making retrospectives, lessons learned, in order to make the inspect and adapt. So every time to make inspection and then adapt and change things in case that you would need to adapt something. We have already have a look at the appendixes that are very important, one on the project management office, another on artificial intelligence, and another on procurement. And of course, there are also some reflections on the evolution of PMBOK Guide, and the different editions. This is also interesting that you can have a look at it. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. I have put in the chat also my LinkedIn, so if you would like to remain in contact with me, I would be absolutely glad to do so. It would be a pleasure. And now I give back the word to you for questions, and to the moderators for their guidance. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Laura, for that well-explained briefing on the PMBOK 8th edition. So over to you, members. If you all have any clarification or anything to ask, you all can unmute yourselves and raise the questions. We can take few questions.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I think you can hear me.
Yes.
I take a first chance to ask a question. I just have still a doubt in terms of these performance domains and 6 principles, what you talk about. And the book says 6 principles serves as a foundation of the performance domains. Would you be able to explain how actually these 6 principles and 7 performance domains, how those 2 are linked?
Yeah, I can give you, of course, my opinion and my take on that. I think that to get, let's say, the puzzle all completed, in my opinion, it's good to consider 3 things. So to consider the mindset, then to consider the principles, and then to consider the domains. This is how I would see it. For me, like, the mindset is the foundation of the principles, and the principles tell you how the behavior of the project manager should be, and it's based on the mindset, because that's actually how it normally works. For the how-to, for me, in the domains, you find also the how-to, because there you go more on the how-to, you go more on the practical examples. So principles is more about the behave, the mindset, yeah, and then the domains as such are more really on the how. So, and the different aspects that you have to consider, because in each domain you have the processes with inputs, outputs, and tools and techniques. So this is how I would see it. I hope
Okay.
this asks the question, this answers the questions or helps.
Oh, okay, that is fine. But ultimately, what I think is this performance domains and 6 principles help to achieve organization goals and objectives. That's what the final output of the
Yeah,
output.
absolutely, absolutely. And this is also why the emphasis you find many times the concept of value, because it's more the shift is not like to say, okay, I have outputs, but it's to say I have outcomes, I have benefit realization, and therefore I have value done. Yeah, I absolutely
Okay.
agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura.
Pleasure.
Any other questions?
Yes. Good morning, Laura.
Good morning.
Where is model, method, and artifact section in 7th edition located in the 8th edition? Model, method, and artifact section in the 7th edition. Where is it located in the new PMBOK?
I would say that you find most of this information in the tools and techniques.
Okay.
Because in the tools and techniques, that's quite extended, to be honest. Of course, you find also something in the tailoring, but in tools and techniques, you find really it's quite extended, to be honest. You can have a look there, and you find a lot of really of practical techniques to use, and related to that, as you are analyzing basically the techniques, there are listed also the artifacts with some examples. So you can find some graphs, you can find some simpler templates. So I think that in this sense, this has been really reviewed in quite a depth way to give some more indication on the how-to and not to make it so much generic.
Okay.
So
Right.
it's tools and techniques. It's section 5, basically.
Tools and techniques. Okay.
Of
So
the
it's
guide, in the guide part.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions before we
Hi.
wrapping up the session?
Hi, I have a small question,
Please.
Samit. Yeah, so when it comes to the real exam, so what's your view on when it comes on the PMBOK 8 has these AI sustainability aspects? So what kind of question views we can expect from in the actual exam? So when you talk about the AI and sustainability when it comes in addition to the PMBOK 7.
Well,
What's
that's a big question, let's say. That of course I'm not pretty so much in the aspects of the exam as such, and basically for that I would more suggest you to look better like at the ECO and at the page that's indicated there on the PMI website. This is what I would say, because I'm more I am happy actually, to discuss the content of the publication regarding, let's say, this exam aspects. It's not something I'm I'm somehow involved, so I prefer more to give it, let's say, to headquarter of PMI who have the full knowledge of that and and background of what what is being prepared on how. But I would say it's good if you look at there should be on the website of PMI the handbook of the exam itself and also the content outline. I think that if you download these documents and you look a little bit in that, you should find some more information on that. But I repeat, regarding exam as such, I'm not an expert for that.
Thank you.
I think we had a great session. So Laura, thank you very much on behalf of PMI Colombo Sri Lanka chapter joining us today, giving in detail explanation on the PMBOK 8th edition as one of the co-authors. So I believe that whoever has participated, including myself, got a lot of insight. And I'm also eager to go through the book and brush my knowledge more on these changes which has happened, which will be very useful on day-to-day PMO work. So I think it's up to us to thank you in a special way, presenting you the certificate virtually, physically, though we can't. So this is just a small token of appreciation for valuable time spending with our members. So thank you very much, Laura, joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, for inviting me, and also for the very open exchange with your community. It has been very warm welcome and a very pleasant session. And thank you for all your questions. I'm grateful for that. Thank you to you as a board. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, dear colleagues who have joined here, since you have registered with us for this session, the PDUs will be automatically get updated with your membership. And apart from that, I know everyone is aware that we are going to host the National Project Management Conference and Excellence Award on 18th August. So we are very eager to see each and every one of you physically on that day. So please, it's an open invitation to each and everyone. Please join us on 18th August, Project Management Institute, Sri Lanka Colombo chapter, the National Project Management Conference, and in the evening, the Excellence Award 2026. So with that note, let me conclude the session thanking PMI Colombo chapter president, the board of directors, especially Shivantika, for all the support in organizing it. So have a great night. See you all once again on a virtual meeting. Thank you.
Very